and welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 481. This is the show that is dedicated to all things music technology, music production, live production, software, synthesizers, drum machines, all that kind of stuff. So if you sit back for the next hour or so, and we will endeavour to entertain you the best you can. If you've not come across us before and you like what you see, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got lots of reviews, interviews, all kinds of stuff. In fact, we just put over 100 videos up from NAMM, so if you've got a loose end this weekend, you could attempt to watch all of them. It's around about 12 hours, I think, something like that. Or if you want to watch all of the previous Sonic Talks, that's going to take you weeks. But, you know, some people enjoy this. I thought I would just let you know. So I want to say thank you very much to our show sponsors, Isotope. They will be offering a competition prize about halfway through the show, in about half an hour or so, of the Neutron mixing plugin. So please do stay tuned for that. And I want to say thank you very much to our live chat room guests who are in the IRC channel. We're working on getting the web chat going, and also all of you guys and gals listening and watching on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. So let's get to it. We'll start with let's go to Mr. Marc Tinley. We haven't seen him for ages. Happy New Year, Marc.
Happy New Year, indeed. Yes, Happy New Year.
So how have you been, apart from growing hair?
That has happened, hasn't it? Yeah, I've been all right. Yeah, I've been all right. Doing all the same things. Had no idea quite how difficult it is being a retailer and how much of your life it takes up. But I'm really enjoying it. So apologies for not having been here more often, because I've been making weird things.
Making weird things and selling weird things, stuff. Right? Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's, of course, I've got the wrong lower third there. It's sonusmagus.com, isn't it, is where we should
It is,
check.
Yeah. That one will get you there anyway, because I've tried to consolidate all that and simplify it so that I'm spending less time doing websites as well. So hopefully that if you type that URL, it will just take you straight to the other website anyway.
Excellent. Glad to have you aboard. Anyway, Marc, thank you very much. And also we got Mr. Non Eric from musotalk.de, our friends in Germany who basically do a similar service to us. That's music technology and all the associated byproducts. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I had a sunny day in Berlin.
Excellent. A nice time of year to be in Berlin. Of course, we've got Super Booth coming up as well, so you don't actually have to do the commute, you lucky soul. So what's been happening on Musotalk then?
Well, a lot of we just started a kind of a series of trials where we test out a couple of new formats. We just launched a news compilation, a weekly news compilation as a trial on Saturday that went down really well with our community. And yeah, we've got a couple of reviews coming up. We'll be having a live stream on Friday, 5 o'clock German time on musotalk.de, where we will be, going through Halion 6, this huge sampler update from Steinberg, which is basically it's more like a development tool for samples than a regular sampler. So that I'm going to have two experts in the show will be answering questions coming in via the chat, and more review stuff. I've got about 1,300 videos on YouTube, so if you like,
I think you're beating us there. I think we're probably only I think we're about 1,600, but there we go. We'll just have to the video race continues, but great.
Yes.
Well, nice to have you aboard, Non Eric, and a pleasure as ever. We'll get back to you in shortly. And we have Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, who we haven't seen for a little while. You've been working presumably out on the road? Is it on the road or in the studio?
In the studio, but in the studio had a band in from Japan and doing kind of Beatlesque music. And worked with them for many days, and then the other time that I have has been spent on going through various types of tape simulator plugins and tape machines and comparing how different those plugins and so forth work. And I'm going to write a big paper about it and become an internationally published author, and there you go.
And you'll be doing conferences and special TED Talks.
Yeah,
and then,
that's it.
You'll become the tape saturation consultant for maybe the BBC or I don't know, one of these other major news organisations. That's
Something
what we're working.
Or maybe I'll start putting out lots of videos too. Although I think of all of you guys, I have the fewest number of videos. I have probably 3 videos posted. I'm just not. I gotta up my video intake, or rather
outtake.
output.
Yeah, maybe it's
outtake, output.
Well,
Charles, it would be very, very interesting to hear about what your findings are on the subject.
At the very least, I have created a lot of graphics that I could actually send to you right now. And just when you look at the graphics, you'll see exactly what I've discovered. It is bizarre what's happening in the world of plugins. So there you go. Give me your address and I'll send it to you.
I'm looking forward to that. That sounds like a very interesting concept, and might link into a product at one of the topics a little bit later on, because I expect you'll have quite a lot of those. So, well, as we know, Grammy week and also BAFTA week, and obviously Grammy week, the big news was, this really. This is Adele, who scooped like 5 Grammys, and there was doing a live performance which is a tribute to George Michael. Nice touch. And just for some reason started off in the wrong key, and then I think this comes up in a few seconds, just sort of says, sod this, or some other word, and just says, let's do it again. See if we can find the moment. Excruciating. She does look a bit uncomfortable, as you would. Oh, come on. I should have got the moment where it happened. I think it's any second now. Yes. Further in the video than I thought.
It's coming up.
It's coming up. Oh.
I know it's live TV. I'm sorry. I can't do it again like last year. I'm sorry for swearing, and I'm sorry for starting again. Can we please start it again? I'm sorry. I can't mess this up for you.
I don't know about you. It's funny this. It seems to be split down the middle. Half the people are going, oh, what's she like? It's all about her. And then the other half are going, brilliant, good for you. Live TV, Grammys, big showbiz awards, just like... No, because she messed it up once before, didn't she? And it must have been an absolutely awfully uncomfortable kind of moment. And this brings up a number of things. I mean, first, what do you think of it? Second, have you been in that kind of situation? The pressures of that sort of things, particularly live, although there must have been a delay because they managed to bleep out her potty mouth. I'm going to go to the American, the American first, because it's your national awards. So
yes,
what's the word on the street, Charles?
Well, I don't have any insider information yet, although I'm pretty sure I know the guy who mixed the broadcast mix, it's probably Steve Genowick and maybe Al Schmidt, because I know they get very involved in that kind of stuff. So I'll write to them and find out. But I'm glad she did that. I have been in live shows where people have had to start over. I work with OMD a lot, and they have no compunction about starting over a song if it's just not going right. But one thing that occurred to me is there's like this. So obviously with not Jennifer Lopez. Was it Jennifer? No, who was
Adele.
it last week?
Oh no,
no. Oh, Mariah Carey. Yeah,
oh,
Mariah
right.
Carey.
Oh yes, that's right.
And then this. If I'd say if it happens again within the next month, then I'm going to feel like this might be some sort of attempt at trying to seem more authentic. I don't know. I mean, I know that's a weird way to take it, but I've done enough shows like this where, even live broadcast shows, they delay by quite a bit, and everything's just so tight the way they have it. And then to see something like this where she messes up, I'm just sort of thinking, I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking.
Oh, what you think it might be a larger plan to actually try and make just sort of humanize the whole thing a bit more apart. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, interesting. That's what I think. I'm not saying that is what happened, but that was the first thing that came to mind. And yes, this is an emotional tribute for her, and maybe this adds to the dramatic effect. And I was looking at the commentary on the YouTube video, and apparently I'm not alone in thinking that sort of thing. So who knows? Safety numbers is not necessarily...
Conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I know. So who knows? Who knows what happened? It's similar to the Mariah Carey thing. You kind of go, well, you know, I don't know how much.
I mean, the thing is, if it's midnight on New Year's Eve, you can't delay it that much because that's the time,
exactly.
isn't it? I mean, there's not much you can do about that, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Mark, you've done quite a lot of shows. I mean, when you were touring with Duran, I'm guessing, you know, they must have done some live TVs and things where you know, what's the approach? Do you kind of, the show must go on, or do you stop and start again? I mean, I think stop and start again, although TV schedules are very tight, and it must have been,
well, all those big TV networks are bullies, so I'm amazed that she got away with doing that, actually, to be honest, because it would have cocked the whole of the rest of the schedule up. They will, like, cut you off if you haven't finished your slot on time and stuff like that. So it's quite a hard thing to do, to stop and then start again, I think, because she's put the whole show out of sync.
By 45 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, which is a lot in that world, because it messes up all the advertising and then it costs everybody loads of money. So I would stop and start again. I'd have to stop and start again maybe half a dozen times.
I guess that's the difference. I suppose because I watched a couple of, like, there were some Adeles specials over Christmas, and I watched, and she's very sort of real with the audience, and she did stop one of the songs, you know, in a show that I watched a while back and go, actually, I want to do that again. I didn't get that right, you know, and I think that's quite endearing. But as you say, Chicky, it might be endearing. I just don't know that she'd be that calculated or any word. But yes, I take your point. So, Mr. Non-Eric, have you been in that position? What would you do, first of all?
Start again, obviously. But what really is interesting is that it took her so long to realize that she was so drastically out of tune. And that's kind of weird to me, because 45 seconds is a very, very long time. And we heard her, you know, sing very off-key. I mean, not just slightly, and it wasn't a problem of the monitoring or anything, because she kept her pitch in relation to what she thought was the right key for a very, very long time, totally ignoring the playback. Something is strange about it. But I'm not sure what it is. Does it take 45 seconds for you to realize
I don't know.
that you're out of key?
Well, because the first 15 or 20, the first 15 or 20 are just a kind of bing. They were just a piano mount. Obviously, in her monitor, she's probably getting something completely different. I mean, I don't know if many people know, but I mean, I've certainly put mixes together where, you know, the band start halfway, you know, after 8 or 16 bars, and there might be almost nothing for the singer to pitch with. So what you do is, if there's any playback device in, you stick a couple of monitor tracks on there, and that might have like some piano notes or the basic chord shapes, so that the singer can hear and knows what pitch they're singing to, and then the rest of the band will come into it. I mean, that's fairly common practice. Yeah. So you'd imagine there would be the same thing. Maybe there isn't.
Yeah, it's weird to me to watch it and have go on, 30 seconds singing the wrong pitch or more.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she doesn't have a separate monitor mix, a pitching monitor mix, and maybe she didn't realise, because you could see her face was sort of like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? This doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. So, yeah. I mean, because she must have been thinking... Do you not think that she must have also been thinking, can I do this? Because it's a live TV, it's Grammys, you know, it's like, I know what's at stake here. Maybe I'll be able to pull it...
Maybe she is waiting for the pitch correction to grab it, to get it, you know.
Maybe
and
she has a very slow attack.
Doing it, and she thinks the pitch correction should be able to get it, you know, should be able to get it. Oh, it's not getting it. It's not getting it. Oh, where am I?
That's harsh.
I've heard tell in backstage circles of people putting monitor engineers putting pitch shift on the singer's feed if they've fallen out with the singer. They will send something with completely the wrong pitch to the singer's ears just to completely mess with them. So maybe she's fallen out with a monitor engineer.
Oh, Auntie Adele, how could they? She's like such a regular gal. But the other thing that came up about this is, she won, if I got it here, she won 5 Grammys. So Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Record of the Year, Best Solo Pop Performance, perhaps not for that night, Best Pop Vocal as well. I mean, that's a lot of awards for one artist to get. And one thing that also, you know, there's the other bit of news was she said Beyonce should get this one. I think it was for the album, wasn't it? And, you know, which again seems very real, and everybody responded well to it. But I'm wondering what on earth are the people who vote for the Grammys thinking about, just sort of, because you did it last year as well. Why would you ignore all the other artists? I mean, because they could have given, if you got best song of the year and album of the year, best pop vocal album, surely could go to somebody else. It seems a very curious sort of thing to not give any other talent a look in. I don't know. Charles, do you have... Sorry.
Go ahead.
Switching hell.
Whoa. I was just going to ask the question. I thought the Grammys were given by sales. So it's in Germany, we also have an award, and it's by record sales. So there is no jury or voting. It's usually the artist with the most sold records or downloads or stream or whatever it is these days. He gets the award, the Echo.
No,
and I thought Grammy would be exactly like that, not like the Oscars where there's a jury, people voting.
Grammys are a jury.
It was based on facts.
No, Grammys are. I've got the page up here. Grammys are that you have to fulfil certain criteria to be nominated. You get nominated, and then it goes to the panel, whoever the panel are, and the members voting are not known until the Grammy Awards. So it's basically a closed vote. So I mean, just seems a really curious thing not to kind of give it to anybody else. It's sort of like just seems kind of
they paid the most money. I was going to say
the way that they
pays the most money. How very dare you, Mr. Non-Eric?
Sorry.
I was going to say that the way that they do it, I saw an article just the other day that was talking about the difference between the way the jury awards the Grammys versus how juries award with Oscars. You know, you can have some obscure film like My Left Foot, for example, that won, Oscar for Best Picture, and it sort of came out of nowhere. Some independent film suddenly is like, the number one film or the number one pick in the Grammys. And I mean, in the Oscars. Yeah. But apparently with the Grammys, it's different. That it's basically voted on popularity, and not so much sales, but it's actually their criteria seems to be about popularity more than anything else. It'd be sort of like if every year the best picture was like one of the new Terminator films or one of the new, Marvel.
Just for box office, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah. That's sort of how the Grammys do work. It's not actually based on sales, but it might as well be because it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, and I suppose Adele probably did clean up as far as Anyway, just curious. I don't know. Non-Eric, have you ever been involved in any TV production? You ever done any of that kind of side of things? Is that something that you've seen from the real world? Because mostly it's playback, I'd imagine these days. People aren't prepared to take that kind of risk, right?
Yeah, or it's half playback where just the vocals are live. And we had a show here, and a very famous artist called Nina. Do you know her?
Yeah, Nina, 99 Luftballon.
Yeah. She did her piece, and she was awfully out of tune. Very embarrassing.
Oh dear, ouch.
Mm-hmm. I saw her live a couple of times before she was really famous, and she was really bad then too.
Oh, that's a shame.
Terms of singing, at least.
Ouch.
She's a great Fräulein, Great Fräulein, bad singer.
Charles,
yeah.
Have you done TV mixing yourself? I mean,
yes.
When you're on the road, sometimes do you kind of like, they go, right, we're doing a show, can you do the front of house? I mean, you must get that.
Yeah, well, I used to be the chief guy over at Hammerstein Ballroom, Manhattan Center Studios in New York, and we did a lot of TV shows from there. So I would do broadcast mix, sometimes front of house mix, sometimes recording mix. But I've done quite a lot of that. And, like Marc was saying earlier, these shows are really heavily scripted. So something like, even 20 seconds is kind of unforgivable. And it seemed like the show had great production in the sense that they recovered really well, or they sort of accounted for something. So I don't know. That's just feeding into my conspiracy again. So what do I know?
There he goes. Yeah,
it's all a plan.
It's all a plan. I don't know. But anyway, it's an interesting. I don't know. What do you have any thoughts on that? Have you done it? Did I already ask you this, Marc, about being involved in that? You've said you've done some live TV stuff. I mean, is there often a tussle with the band are kind of going, no, actually I want to play more of this live, and do you have to haggle over whether the bass player gets to play live or is it just the vocal or whatever? They draw the line at drums every time.
If you're going to have a whole band there, they need like a serious truck outside to record it. So I think they're TV show is probably nearly always going to on the side of playback or half playback. I don't know. I've not been in the negotiation part of that, but I've been at the back end of it. But it does get complicated. So you end up in a truck outside in the parking lot with, like, you know, they're watching the show and they've got like a desk in there, and there's somebody does the front of house, but somebody separate will mix the feed that goes to TV or whatever. And God help them. That's all I can say, because they've got no idea what the music is. And they've got people standing there and shouting at them, there should be a delay here, this should be happening, this and all that. And I'm amazed it goes so well as it does sometimes. That's not the question you asked.
No, no, but that's fine. I was going to. One thing I did want to ask, Charles, you've done it. Is there a different approach to the dynamics of it? Because obviously you've got very hard level constraints with TV signal. Do you have to process much harder individual instruments, or you just slap it all across the bus?
When in doing broadcast mix or doing front of house during a broadcast. In doing broadcast mix, every time I've done it on an EVR, and so there's lots of processing in that board basically, and there is a lot of compression. This back when I did it was before there was that standard, the minus 23 dB full scale, whatever the new thing is that's happened in the past few years. But we wouldn't print anything over like minus 12. Or not print, I mean,
wave thing. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And but we did compress a lot of stuff, and we mixed everything on Auratones, because back then people didn't even have decent hi-fi speakers connected to their TV. So it's always interesting trying to mix a show through Auratones, I find.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, when you got the dynamics of a live band happening coming out through a pair of Auratones, very, very different kind of vibe. Yeah, interesting. I suppose that's why you would. Sorry, Eric.
I was just gonna add a thought.
Yeah,
aren't we in the age of cowards? Because when I go to YouTube and I type in Grey Old Whistle Test, what's it called?
Old Grey Whistle Test. Old Grey Whistle Test.
Yeah. You see all these great 70s bands play live in a TV show, and it's live.
Yeah.
They could do it.
They made music in a really different way. Well, what happened is we make music completely differently. So before the 1970s, people used to rehearse their songs until they were absolutely brilliant. Then they'd go into a studio and they'd record 4 songs in one day, and then they'd go back and record another 4 songs, and they'd done the album. And they'd played those songs out live everywhere. Now we go in the studio and we construct everything track by track, and then we try and learn to play it afterwards. And then, some bands don't rehearse anywhere near as much as they ought to, and they're probably not capable of playing in the way that those bands from the Grey Whistle Test era could. So I think that's what's happened. And I think we need to get back to bands that rehearse and write songs and develop ideas outside of any kind of recording format. So forget all about computers, although I shouldn't be saying that on this show at all.
You go for it.
Wrong form.
We want to create and there are bands of young people who are doing exactly this, who are like going like, okay, we don't go near any of the recording stuff or any of the computers yet until we've honed our art. And then when they've got that down, then they're capable of going out and playing live anywhere and recreating that sound anywhere. So it's just a change in the way that we do things. I think
also a problem, Mark, because of the audience, because the audience was used to listening to a lot of live music in those days. They knew that there was a difference between the recording and the live sound, but these days I think there is no perception from the audience. They don't realize that there could be a difference. They expect live exactly the same sound
they want it to sound
as on record.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, that's true as well. Right, let's just take a quick break for a message from our sponsors, and then we can come back in. Obviously, Isotope with us again. They are telling you about Isotope Neutron, which is the mix assistant and processing tool, comprised of a variety of different components. What's really interesting about it is it enables you to visualize the components of your mix, so you can see where there are frequency conflicts which traditionally you have to use your ears, which is obviously not a bad thing at all, but with using the masking meter, it shows you where those conflicts are and makes suggestions based on the individual tracks on what you could do about clearing up those conflicts, and it really can help clear out a mix and give you a kind of a better point to understand, and then, you know, work back with your ears, as obviously we should all do anyway. You've also got the ability to process individual tracks, compression, dynamic stuff, all sorts of ways of doing it, and it will detect the instruments for each track and make suggestions based on what the frequency content is. Lots and lots of really useful things for actually just making your mix sound better. So if you want to check it out, go to isotope.com/neutron and you'll be able to download a free demo. And also we got a competition. Last week we asked you to tweet was it the Mix Champ Neutron, and we got a winner. The winner is, now this is actually really hard to read, it's the winner, we asked you to do this via Twitter, and last week's winner is Twitter handle CZ101ESQ1FM8. So I guess that's a bunch of serial numbers. So I was looking at it before I realised what they all were. So CZ101ESQ1FM8. If you would like to get in touch, Isotope will drop a full copy of Isotope Neutron in your inbox. So please do get in touch. And of course, we've got another competition this week. Isotope are giving away yet another copy of Neutron. And what you have to do is tweet. This is a Twitter-only competition. Tweet the Mix Factor. It's my play on X Factor. Do you see what I did there? It's kind of like as we were talking about live performance. The Mix Factor as one word, and Neutron, Neutron, to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. That is the hashtag The Mix Factor, one word, and the hashtag Neutron to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. And you will be entered for the competition. We'll announce the winner next week. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, okay, so this is fun. At least I think it is. This is a very old video of Oscar Peterson in his synth studio on the Synclavia. There's a whole bunch of synths in here. Oscar Peterson, very prolific, obviously jazz pianist, but also composer. And he's got, I think, is that a Jupiter 8 there? I think there's ARP 2500. There's a terrible audio on this, unfortunately. Let's see if I can fast. Yep, there's a Jupiter, and then I think he's got a System 100.
That I would
nice velour tracksuit there as well. But Oscar Peterson, legend. I mean, I don't know if you remember, he did a lot of stuff for Roland where he was an endorsee. He did a lot of things, and it just struck me as one of the, I just didn't realise that this guy was a big synth guy, and I just thought, well, there are quite a few of those out there, and I wondered if anybody had any kind of like, oh, I didn't realise they were into synths, or, you know, what you thought about the video generally anyway. Mr. Chicky Reeves.
I was very surprised that Oscar Peterson was into synths. I don't know why. I mean, but of course he is. Like, really, you know, honestly, really, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be in their right mind? Who wouldn't be in the sense? But that said, I was surprised. I mean, he seemed to have quite a collection too. So, you know, that was great. Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
I think, yeah, like I said, it's the Synclavia ARP 2500, JPA System 100, or possibly 700. I'm not sure. I couldn't quite make the scale out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything really to offer. I just thought it was quite amazing to see him, though. That was great. Yeah.
Okay, well, there are questions, though, here, because obviously, Mr. Non-Eric, I mean, sometimes you find out that people are into synths that you just didn't realise. You had no idea. I mean, it's kind of a bit like, I'm guessing that must happen in your long and illustrious career, in your collaborations. There's just a tumbleweed moment.
Comes to my mind. But that must have been at least $500,000 in dollars that the guy is surrounded by, right?
I would think so.
And we can now do that on an iPhone with GarageBand.
More or less, yeah, that's a good point.
More or less.
Although we couldn't play the full kind of synth repertoire. We wouldn't have the input. We still need the MIDI keyboard at least.
Just joking, but it's amazing how times have changed. That only somebody as prolific. What's it called?
Prolific, yeah.
Prolific.
That was starting to be another word.
Was able to afford to be able to utilize this kind of equipment, where the democratization of recording equipment has taken over, and now basically there is money is not a limiting factor anymore, but it was in those days, definitely. And that's a big reminder when you see this video.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
Oh, no, definitely.
Times have changed dramatically.
Mark, I'm guessing Did you see the one thing that I thought was really cool with what he was doing? He said, "I'm a very lazy composer, and so what I like to do, he plays into the synclavier." So he's got this $80,000 or $200,000 state-of-the-art digital computer music instrument, and then he's got a dot matrix printer printing out the notes he puts. It's just sort of.
I was going to say you've got everything on the iPhone apart from the dot matrix printer. So, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I'm constantly surprised by. Who am I surprised by? I'm surprised at the number of women who come into my shop who are into synthesizers and who are music makers. And I'm still enough of a misogynist to automatically assume that when a couple walk into my shop, that it's the man that is the music maker and that the girlfriend is in tow. And it's very often I'm wrong, actually. And I've been caught out a few times recently where I've just gone, oh, God. And you feel like kind of shrinking behind the counter and going, I'm awfully sorry, but I don't know, bad upbringing. Blame my dad.
Yeah, well, no, sometimes.
Sorry.
But it's interesting. I mean, there are a few, because there's Gary Barlow from Take That, big kind of UK boy band sort of. Now he's a sort of bit of an impresario on primetime TV. He's apparently really into synths. Tom Jones is apparently really into synths as well. I mean, who
seriously?
Gets it? Yeah, apparently
really?
so. I can't give you any supporting evidence to that because I was sworn to secrecy. But there are a number of people that you kind of go, wow, that's really, you would not necessarily think that. And I'm sure that I've heard a story recently as well, whereby I think it was Chris. Who's the guy? Barry Manilow is really into contemporary music, like big style. Follows all the latest trends and really, and would love to be kind of able to apply some of this stuff to his own things. But obviously, he's got a very specific audience, and it's a question of perception and stuff. And I just love the idea that there's a lot more of this around, and the idea that one has to keep it secret from one's audience. So it's just so
there must be like lots of secret cameo performances on things. And the reason I'm saying that, and this is a bit sideways, but then, why wouldn't it be? Because I started collecting Top of the Pops albums. Can you remember them from the 1970s?
Yes, I do, yeah.
So every week they would release cover versions of everything that was in the charts, and it was on a record label called Pickwick, I think. And what I discovered about those records is that the very early ones had people like Elton John on it. So Elton John sang loads of parts before he was famous. So there's like there must be opportunities for some of these synth nuts. Like maybe Barry Manilow is secretly all over the Prodigy album or something, or he's done the synths on something that you just wouldn't expect, and they've credited him as something else.
Well, actually, now I come to think of it, wasn't Barry Manilow involved in the early kind of LA music scene? And he was actually a session player and was one of those guys who was a really musically gifted, one of those people who could say, I need we're going to play this, here we go. And he was one of those kind of, yeah. I saw you nodding there, Charles.
Yeah, he was. And I'm not sure a lot of people in this country know it. In the States, they definitely know it. He wrote the theme songs to a lot of retail establishments and things like that. Like he wrote the McDonald's theme song, and I believe he may have written the Burger King theme song as well.
Wow. Specialist in burger songs.
Yeah, he was like a big jingles guy because he was such an amazingly good musician, and he could just knock it out vocally too. I mean, he still is actually a fantastic songwriter, but he was, God, he made a lot of money doing jingles. So I'm kind of envious of that.
Yeah,
so,
be nice.
My jingle repertoire is a lot smaller than his. So,
Mark,
you said fantastic songwriter, and I pulled a snare, and then I thought, actually, you know what? He really is. He really is.
It may not be to your taste, obviously, but
no, it's not to my taste. But I have to admire his talent, definitely.
Yeah. That's what we have to do. Well, anyway, that topic obviously didn't go anywhere, so let's try this one instead. Let's try this one. Assuming it'll play. I love this. This is basically a clip from a short film. It was actually 2014, I believe, when it came out. Third Man Films, and it's a short film about the artistry of the Foley artist. And I don't know about you, but I found it really fascinating. I'll see if I can fast forward it a bit because they're obviously getting all the props. and this I think this is what they got, Pete Burgess and Sue Harding. So now I think we get into a bit of sorry, I can't fast forward it very well, right? So I think we're getting into a little bit of yeah, here we go. Well, what's interesting about this is obviously they're watching it to picture, but look at the concentration on their faces. They're sort of totally in the zone, cutting up bits of paper that are herring. I know, I could watch it for ages, and I actually did. But this one thing that got me about this, I mean, I wonder if that's all done. But the first thing that I thought, that just looks incredibly complex. I mean, why on earth wouldn't you just make location sound better? Because then it's actually synced to picture, and you sort of don't need to do that. Does anybody have any insight to this? Have you ever done?
Yep.
No, Eric, have you ever done any of this stuff? Sorry, is that something you've ever come across? Not.
Well, we do videos outside, yes. And just from my really small experiences, is that trying to capture good location sound is virtually impossible. And there's also another aspect to it. You need to isolate these sounds. They need to be they need to be kind of over realistic. Do you understand what I mean? I mean, there have to be some sounds don't sound like we imagine they sound.
That's
so
right,
the Foley artist creates the sound that we think this sounds like, and in reality it may sound a little bit different. So it's the Foley artist needs to sort of create not an image, what is it, English word, it's not the real thing, but it's something that's over representative,
a caricature.
Yes, that's right. Yes. And that is so much better to create in the studio. And when people do low budget movies or films, they usually do not use location sound because it's very, very, very difficult to get a clean and good location sound.
Okay. I mean, because I was looking at this and I was thinking, obviously there's no way that they can rehearse all of those movements and get them all in time. So presumably they get moved around a little bit as well. So then there's another pass where they get resynced or something. I mean, I don't know. Well, you seem to have something to say there, Charles.
Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, just because I've worked in this so much. I've done dialogue replacement and a bit of Foley work myself. Like, for instance, I was working on this song with someone once and they needed the sound of like the power switch going out. And when we actually went to a real power switch, record it, put it in the song, it just sounded like, made no sense at all. But one of the, like what Non-Eric was saying, a lot of times, imagine Game of Thrones, how much it would take you out of the drama of it if, you hear these two characters talking to each other, and then just in the distance you hear, plane by. So a lot of times they'll go in and redo all the dialogue for things like that. And then the same thing is true for the Foley. It's such an advanced mic placement in such an uncontrolled environment. It's better just to get it done in a Foley studio. So, and as Non-Eric also said, you have to sort of over dramatize things. Especially for things like Game of Thrones, when someone pulls a sword out, it's amazing what they'll do. They'll actually use, instead of some normal size sword, some just massive size of sword that's been wrapped up in an old tin garbage can, and they yank it out really slowly, and then lots of chains as the horses are galloping, that kind of stuff. It's very advanced work, and it's quite an art form. I think it's amazing. I just would love to get more into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I sort of said it in many ways. I actually, this was something that if in another life, that's what I would love to do. I don't know, Mark, have you ever done any of that stuff? I mean, that you got that thing. Yeah, I'll do some Foley work, and you pick a sample of 6 footsteps on pavement and gravel, and then you somehow got to try and sync them up and make them sound random. Absolutely not happening, right? So,
I have done it. It's counterintuitive because the sound never falls on the frame that you think it does. So I used to try and spin through and stop it on that frame and write down the SMPTE code and then put the thing in the computer on the same code and then try and sync it all up. And actually, you can't put the sound on the thing. You have to put it, is it before or after? I can't remember actually. But and I also know another chap that does it, who does it in Air Lyndhurst. and they've got a special room where they've just got trays full of gravel and cabbages and stuff like that. I think the problem with capturing sound in a live environment is reverb. So you get natural reverbs on things which don't sound natural in a world where we're close miking things like dialogue. So if you record dialogue while you're making a movie, it just sounds wrong. So you have to, all the actors have to go in and resync all the dialogue and record it all again dry. So I think it's the reverb thing that's the problem.
Right, controlling the ambience of it, right.
And then things are spilling into each other. And as Hans said, you've got to like separate things out, and you want to be able to control the mix a lot more. It's a bit like, I watched a film on Saturday night with Nicolas Cage in it that was not very good, actually. But what I noticed about him is that he was wearing a lot of makeup. So he's got like eyeliner on, and so he's like a sort of an exaggerated version of himself, and everything that we see on picture is an exaggerated version of that thing, because it gets you drawn into the picture and it helps your imagination. So I think we have to do the same with sound.
It's like hyper reality.
Yeah, no doubt in 50 years' time we'll look back at it and think, what were we doing? That was just crazy. But I mean, if you watch the Michael Caine movies from the 1960s, I mean, he's got so much makeup on, he looks almost like a woman. He's got like blusher and eyeshadow and what's it called, mascara and lipstick.
I had no, but
that used to be masked in the cinema in the old days, and we start to see that now because we don't have the jiggery film running.
I mean, I think Alfie, if you go and watch the film Alfie, the original one with Michael Caine in it, his makeup is so over the top.
Anyway, question.
Yes.
Do you guys know how much, what the percentages of the dialogue in Game of Thrones that is later recorded?
No, I have no idea. I would imagine it would be 100%, but I mean, maybe it isn't.
Really? Is it that much?
I don't know how much it is. Yeah, I have no idea.
In old movies, you sometimes hear, when you have headphones and you're in bed and you're watching an old movie, you can sometimes hear how the sound of the voices changes.
I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, dubs and what have you. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, and also, obviously, with the hyper, not something we suffer here from. We end up in 720. But the sort of new sports style cameras. I mean, some drama is now shot 60 frames a second, 120 frames per second, 4K, and it just looks weird. It's really distracting. The reality is sort of too much. I don't really need to see every individual hair coming out of somebody's nose, or the kind of halo of ear hair. I mean, I find that really distracting, and I think it is in some ways, flattening it, and to a degree, even though you're using the hyperreal, there's a certain flattening of the information that we're getting because it's easier for us to deal with. So yeah, I mean,
it's a big problem in Hollywood. Old actresses hate it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They hate it, and like they used to have, they would put Vaseline on the lenses in the old days, and it's an old, it was always about making the woman look beautiful and trying to do that in 4K. That's a hell of a job.
Yeah, well, everybody's going to have to be like 12, aren't they? Because, that's the only way that their skin will still stand up to the test. Yes, bizarre, isn't it? Or you have to be a sort of really unnaturally healthy human being to get away with it. So, anyway, there were a couple more...
on one final... I think I share your love of making weird, like, sound effects things, and that would definitely be my dream job, to be in that world doing that. In reality, it's probably really hard work, and it probably wouldn't be my dream job, but I imagine that's...
actually, you've reminded me of the other question I was going to ask, which was, okay, that's what I wanted to do, or particularly, actually, I wanted to do sound effects for cartoons. That's something I'm really interested in. Mr. Non-Eric, if you weren't doing what you were doing now, and you found your path, is there a parallel career that you would have chosen if you could go back and do it again, or maybe you do it as a hobby and would like to make it professional?
For this question, I would have loved to have a bit more earlier notice to think about it.
Let me have a look.
I know the answer to mine. I could do you mine if you want.
Yeah. You do it first.
So when I was a kid, I saw two things in my life. One of them was when I was 7, I had a Slade poster above my bed, and I went, I want to be a pop star. And then the other one was my grandfather was an engineer. So I took the pop star route and decided that I'd get into music. But also, you know, mum and dad were like, better have something to fall back on. So I did a little bit of engineering, and I did an engineering apprenticeship, and I know how to use a lathe and all that sort of stuff. And I'm very mechanical. So I would take all of my audio skills, everything that I can do now, and I would go and work for Ferrari or Lamborghini or I don't know, Rolls Royce or something. Or no,
not them.
Loud cars. But I would love to use all of my existing musical skills to create the noises for electric cars, because electric cars, they're just silent, aren't they?
Yes, that's
so
a
they
good
kind
point.
of come towards you, and I think they should be noisy, but I don't think they should go vroom vroom. I think they should go and do like some crazy wild stuff. But it should all be related to the amount of accelerator being done by the driver.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Torque and the pull and the forces and the G forces.
It should be related but different. No, I think that's a good.
That would be my dream.
We have talked about this, haven't we? Like someone creating car engine sounds for electric cars.
Have we?
Yeah, sometime in the past. Yeah, and it's an interesting concept. Okay, we'll come to you, Charles.
I was going to say you could do, you could have like a whole suite of sounds that you can download for your car. So like if you want your Tesla to sound like a Model T with one of those big horns on it. Like,
yeah, all of that stuff. I think that would be great. People would know you were coming.
I'd love that.
So what about your alternative career path?
Oh, it wouldn't be in music. It'd be in politics. Okay, that I guarantee it. I'd go into the thankless job of politics, the thankless, soul-crushing job of U.S. politics, which is a really scary place to be right now. So
yes, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, luckily, I'm in music, so I
don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Have you had enough thinking time yet, Non-Eric, or are you?
Yeah. Yes. I'm not. The problem is, well, it's not a problem. I've always done what I wanted to do, so it's very hard for me to come up with an alternative. Gardening, maybe.
I suppose it could be a specialist niche within your current field. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, that's what, for me, it was like the sound effects thing would be a specialist niche.
Yeah, or I could be. No, I would have. Now I know. I would have loved to be somebody like Thomas Gottschalk, a big presenter. You know, on the big stage of German television, doing all these great big shows. You know.
Ah, okay. Variety.
Yeah. Yes, hello and welcome.
You have to have don't you have to have a handheld mic for that now, or are they? Does everybody go? Yeah,
handheld mic. Yes,
it's a
rule number 1.
Handheld mic.
Never give the handheld mic to anybody else when you are in charge.
That's a very valid point. Okay, all right. We've got a couple more quick ones to get to. First one was as I said, it is a bit of a slow news week, which is why we're kind of talking around the subject of music technology. Obviously, with NAMM and all the other things that have happened, you know, lots of people sort of shot their load in terms of new product releases and what have you. So this is why the subject is a bit more meandering. But one of the things I came up with was what was the last plugin you bought and why? And I was going to start that off because I did buy. What did I buy? I bought the Valhalla Shimmer. I think my last, which was $50, which is just, you know, a shimmer reverb, as I'm very fond of that particular sound. It's a very basic looking plugin, but it sounds absolutely massive. And for kind of ambient synth noodling, which is what I'm doing when I get the chance, it works a treat. And I think it was $50. So and I bought it for that reason. So that's where I'm going with that. Mark, how about you?
Come back to me. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay. Mr. Chicky Reeves.
Yes, I'm going to sound a little bit like I'm a shill for one of your sponsors.
Okay.
Or for you. But Neutron. I just absolutely love that plugin. Okay. I love it. I use it on everything. Just it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. I think it's my favorite plugin they've ever made by far.
Is that because it helps visualize the mix side of things, or what is it about it that? Because I mean, that's the sort of big sales pitch, isn't it? I mean, that's the one of the points that makes it kind of do what it does. Or you found an alternative use for it?
not so much that. Like what I could do is I could put an instance of that on every single track and just have it analyze and just do what it thinks it should do with the track, and it will make a mix sound kind of 75% there. It's just really stunning how well it works and how well it analyzes the track. And just the little, you can get to a point where you have Exciter on every track, and that could be a little overwhelming. But it just sounds great on everything, especially on bass and on drums. And it's just, I love it on everything. Really,
that's
everything.
Interesting. You could have a neutron hourly rate, which is obviously less of your involvement, and
that's right,
and a manual hourly rate as well.
That's right. Really, yeah. I've been able to pull mixes together so much faster since I got that, and it's really well thought out. It's a channel strip. That's what it is. It's a smart channel strip, is what it is.
That's interesting. I would like to point out that was in no way rehearsed or set up, but I'm obviously very pleased for both of you.
I do love it, though. I do love it. So,
Mr. Non-Eric.
Well, maybe I could get Isotope to pay me for another plug, because I must agree to Charles' perception.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow,
I did a rough mix just with neutrons on all the channels, and it was great. Since I hate mixing anyways, and a great fat limiter on the master, and that's all you need. It's with a lot of limiting, a lot of compression, everything mixes by itself anyways, and then a little bit of tweaking done by neutron, and off we go. So mix in 5 minutes, love it.
That's really,
I would agree. Yeah,
that's really interesting. I wonder, do you think that there's a danger of, because this technology is bound to spread into other plugins and other technology. I'm sure there are other ones available. Do you think there's a danger that sort of thing is going to end up with a slightly generic sound to things, in the same way that we did maybe in the mid-90s with Pro Tools? Sort of had, everybody was using Apogee interfaces, and there was just a sound to everything, wasn't there?
Oh, definitely there's a danger is there, but will the listener care? Really?
It'll be about the idea and the tune. Imagine that.
Yeah,
good lord.
Because I think we're greatly over exaggerating. I think it's not possible. It's a double.
Yes.
Wow, my English today is really bad. I'm sorry, guys.
It's not. It's fine. It's better than mine.
I think it's gonna be very helpful. Things, because we need to produce stuff faster, in a more and more shallow way. So we can't go that deep, because we have to release 10 tracks a week or stuff, or master 10 tracks, mix 10 tracks. All the guys that I know here in Berlin who are doing mixing and mastering, they do it for a very low fee, so they have to crunch out mixes like 3 or 4 a day, and inevitably we're gonna need intelligent tools to be able to cope with that. It will make everything a lot shallower, if you understand what I mean. It's not that deep in terms of how it's done. It will do the job, it's there, and it will work, and next track tomorrow. So everything is, the turnover time is so quickly, we won't even have time to think about whether there would have been maybe a better mix. I don't think it's very important, and if we can get tools that help do a mix faster, I think they will be welcome, and nobody's stopping you from tweaking it.
That's interesting. Another quick point on that. I guess the thing is if you put your mix into something like Neutron, and it sounds fine, and it comes up with a perfectly acceptable mix, but the artist doesn't like it for whatever reason, it's too X or Y, how do you then break it apart and change that if the machinery is doing that job?
Oh, that's easy.
Oh, okay.
Because it's basically.
Oh, go ahead.
It's basically setting up. It's like an intelligent channel strip. It will set up the channel strip according to what it analyzed, and then you have all the parameters in front of you, and you can change every parameter individually. Is that correct, Charles?
Yes. You can go back and change everything about it. I'm sorry?
No.
What's this thing called again?
Neutron. It's
Isotope Neutron.
Right.
And what I was going to say is, you can have it on everything. You can get the mix 75% there, but the thing that's going to separate a mix that's just knocked out quickly using Neutron and say, a really professional sounding mix is going to be the experience of the guy who's operating or the girl who's operating it.
Always.
It's always down to, because I never, like, I'll have Neutron will analyze the track and make it suggestions, and that's great. And I will go with probably, I don't know, at least half of what they suggest. I might just change a few things or deactivate a few things or intensify a few things. But I will never really just leave it as is. It's the same thing with synth patches. You still go in and change it.
The last bit. Okay, so Mark, what's your last plugin?
Glitch Machines Fracture.
Glitch Machines Fracture. Okay.
Which is shall I read what it says? I couldn't remember what it was called. I thought it was called Fractal Audio, but it's not. It's called Fracture. It says Fracture is a patchable glitch processor designed to facilitate the creation of mind-bending malfunctions.
And it looks like that, or at least that's the graphic.
It looks like that, yeah. Okay. So it's basically circuit bending in software, kind of.
Oh, let's have a quick listen.
It's like time delay based granular kind of mangling mess, which is I like doing that to things.
Right.
Although I've discovered actually recently what I really like doing with things like spoken word or lead vocal is you keep them really tight and dry and then bang in the middle of the mix and then stick that through some kind of like nice, smooth, washy kind of reverb thing. Then whack it through Fracture, so you fracture the shit out.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry, excuse my language.
The poo-poo out of it.
Can we do that one again, please?
Rewind.
So you fracture the reverbs and the delays. So actually, you've got this world of kind of broken things floating around in the background, but then you've got this beautifully pure, clear kind of thing in the middle. So it doesn't detract from the content.
I like the idea
kind of
of
adds to it.
I like the idea of that. Very nice. Okay, well, what's the time? It's just come out at 5 o'clock. Oh, there was this last thing, which was some art by... art by something called Lucy Eldridge, which was some nice... Yes, Sonicstate Bingo. Which was some nice watercolours of some synth makey stuff. We've got... that looks like a CS15D and a Volca sample, Mini Moog, and a Eurorack system, Juno 60... This is
OP1,
and some nice cassettes. There's some lovely stuff actually. So this is. I don't know if you can buy it anywhere, but I just thought it was something a bit, because often we see cakes and what have you, but there was some actual art. That's lucyeldridge.com. That's from her Music Makes Noise collection. It's based in Brighton in the UK. Got any synth art, Eric?
No, but a Synths deck, what's it called? Playing cards from Dave.
Of course, Top Tramps.
I love those.
Top Tramps
They're
too.
Great.
And I guess some vintage analog synthesizers or digital synthesizers are works of art in their own right that you can have dotted about the place, right?
Yes.
That's true. I mean, here's the Matrix Brute, which is a kind of a work of art because it's such a massive, monumental, monolithic thing, I suppose. And it's got lights, all the blinky lights and everything. So I guess that's one thing. Have you got any synth art, Charles?
No. I wanted to get one of those Moog sofas. Yeah. But that was vetoed very quickly. So it just doesn't really go with the decor of anything else. So
you have to have that in your studio only.
Yes, but I already have a black sofa back there with the Beatles on them. So
okay.
So, but no, I don't have any synth art. I mean, having a lot of synths, I view them as kind of pieces of art unto themselves. They are gorgeous. I love those old synths.
Some indeed are. Mr. Mark Tinley, any synth art or audio art?
I promise I didn't set this up.
You got a Moog cushion. That's nice.
Oh,
but also like I don't know. I suppose that's what I've been moved towards doing is making artistic things out of musical instruments. So,
okay.
People come in the shop and they go, "I've got this guitar. It's like, what will you give me for it?" And I buy the guitar, and it's some gnarly old thing, and then I attack it with an angle grinder and make it even more gnarly. And I've been finger painting on them with emulsion paint and just creating these weird things. And synthesizers, if you go to normalforglastonbury.uk, the person who writes that blog came into the shop and interviewed me. And I make synthesizers and then put them in unusual boxes. So I've got a 3 oscillator synth which is in an incense holder. Somebody came in and said, "Oh, I don't like this incense, Mark. Would you like it?" And I went, "No, not really, but I love the box." So I took the box and housed something in it. So I'm playing that on a film that she made when not the incense giver, but the first person who wrote the article. I'm playing that synthesizer through a toy TARDIS, which has a digital delay built into it, which is also, I think, that's a piece of synth art, because although it's technically a delay, it self-oscillates.
There you are. Is that you? That's you doing it right there. Look at that.
That is me doing it. Yes.
You look seriously
waving artistic things around.
That's lovely. Music. Nice. Excellent. Well, I once again, I know that some of the natives got a bit restless. We weren't very synthy this week. I mean, I did show a picture of the Matrix Brute. The reason we didn't talk about that this week is because, we've talked about the Matrix Brute. The next thing will be a review of that. That's my next thing on the cards. Obviously, there's the Roland System 8, which has just gone out. It seems to have got an enormous... I mean, it's like 400 comments on that. People are arguing endlessly about the analog or digital nature of it. No, did you get a chance to try the System 8?
Nope.
No. Okay. Interesting. Charles?
No, I haven't. I'm anxious to actually watch your review of it, though.
Well, there are 27 long minutes of it, so I hope you've got time. But it's quite excellent. Well, I think that's probably about it for this week. I want to say thank you very much to everybody for joining us. Thank you, Mark Tinley from sonusmagus.com. Or was it .co.uk.com, isn't it?
.com. Yes, .com.
It's
very welcome.
Been a pleasure having you. And also, Mr. Charles Chicky Reeves, thank you also for joining us. Your network has been perfect, I might add. So whatever you did, it did the job.
Great. It's about to go down, though, because I'm getting internet providers switched over. So any moment now.
Okay. And what's next for you?
Next thing is basically, I got a band coming in a day or so. And then I'm recording them through the weekend. So it's all live and set out in my house. I'm doing the whole thing, everybody recording it once and videoing it and everything. So
that should be fun. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us and good luck with that project.
Glad to. Thank you.
And also, Mr. Non-Eric, musotalk.de. What's next for you?
Tomorrow, 12 o'clock at noon German time, we do our version of the Sonicstate podcast in German. Woohoo! And then the following day, 5 o'clock p.m. German time, with a live chat and live stream, we're doing a review of the new Steinberg Halion 6 sampler.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. That was Sonic Talk number 481. Don't forget, if you want to enter to win Isotope Neutron, you tweet the hashtag #TheMixFactor and the hashtag Neutron to @Sonicstate and @Isotope Inc. and you will be entered for the competition. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next time.